Hi folks, Cheryl-Ann Webster from CiiAT here with yet again another live. This time, the art of microwaving ice. Why would we microwave ice? Well, it's a very good question. I tried it and it wasn't as successful as I thought. But let me start at the beginning. Do you remember a couple of weeks back when Michelle and I went out and we did puddle prints? We added food color into puddles, we picked up paper with it, we did all kinds of fun things. Well, that inspired me. It reminded me of the time that I was studying Andy Goldsworthy and he took these amazing giant snowballs in the wintertime, of course, filled them and rolled them and made them with all kinds of found objects in them and natural objects and all kinds of stuff, feathers and bits of old iron and twigs. And that's my puppy in the corner deciding to play right now. Hi, River. You want to be on live too? Yeah. That's the office puppy. So when you think of Andy Goldsworthy's snowballs, they were giant. He kept them in a deep freeze all winter, and then in the middle of summer, he brought them out. He placed them in parks. He placed them all over the place, down streets, and they just melted and left behind the debris. He also put some on very thick watercolor paper, and it left a mark. So from the puddle prints to Andy's great big snowballs in the summer, I thought, hey, why not microwave ice? Okay, it didn't quite work that way. But I've had these lovely chalk pastels for quite some time. Absolutely delicious. But I find when they crumble and at the bottom of the dish all the time, there's always this waste left over. Little crumbs, little bits and pieces, and what do you do with them? Well, you can stick your fingers in them and work with them that way, but it felt like there was more to be done. Then it got me thinking, why don't I make ice cubes with the dust and powder and see what happens? And instead of using our food ice cream tray or ice cube tray, I had these trays left over from chocolates, and it's a really good excuse to eat more chocolates so that you have the tray to make the painting ice cubes. So what I did is I took some of the dust, I put it inside the tray, poured some water in and froze them because I thought on a live you didn't want to wait for ice to freeze. Then we took some watercolors, because do you ever get those watercolors that are so old, somebody's gifted them to you, they don't come out the tube anymore, you have to cut them open, they're rock solid. And in the end, you end up discarding them. Well, instead of discarding them, we squished and smushed them into another chocolate tray and froze those as well. Look how yummy they are. And we've been trying a few things, and I've got some photos I'll post at the end to show you, but this is where we're at. First off, this was the original one here. This one here was the first one. I took the ice cubes, I popped them out of the trays. They come out really easily. I left it on there, and I'm not very patient, so it didn't melt fast enough. So what I did is I took the hairdryer and decided I would melt them that way. Well, do you know what happens when you try and put a hairdryer on ice? It skids across the page, doesn't melt very much, but does make a nice mess. So that didn't work. Then I thought, well, that's easy. I'll microwave it. Well, this is the result of the microwaved ice. It does some really fun things, but you know, the family members weren't so keen on me putting them in the microwave and leaving the residue. So that didn't work. And when they did break down and melt up, the powder is still there, which is ever so much fun to draw in, but it didn't quite leave the mark as I'd hoped. Then a dear friend of mine said, Cheryl-Ann, be more patient. Just put the ice cubes down and wait a while. So I put 3 ice cubes in a row and I left them. And this amazing pattern came from the fact of how long the water tension took to break and how long it took for the water to be absorbed by this heavy body paper. It made some lovely things, and I even have a video of the particles falling as the water melted. But again, it didn't quite leave the pattern I was hoping for. So then I took the watercolor ice cubes and put those out to dry. Well, this was yesterday, so it's taken a really long time for them to melt and to be absorbed into this, again, heavy-bodied paper. But you can see there was more of a result here than in the other cases. I really like what's happening here. So maybe it's the fact that there's just too much water to really do the result I want. So I've been waiting to do this. Let's see if we can pick up some of that residue water and see what's left behind. Ooh, that's pretty neat on the paper as well, isn't it? And I think it's given it more of the desired effect I was looking for, but it just seems too much. So then on to the next experiment. I thought, well, it really just needs more absorbent paper. So I've got some handmade paper, and just less than 15 minutes ago, we put the ice cube with the pastel right on there, and as you can see, it's absorbed it much faster. Also on the granite is putting some heat and pulling out the water as well there. But it still hasn't left much of a mark. So Jason, my wonderful videographer that's behind the camera, hi Jason.
Hello.
He decided that what would be really fun is to just take the ice cube straight away and draw with it. And that was the result of the drawing one, and his was much prettier before I added my layer. So with the pastel, it actually leaves quite a nice mark behind, and then the watercolor does as well. Let's grab a watercolor one, and let's start there. So you may be asking yourself at this point, why? Why would we bother doing this? Well, to be honest, I don't know, but it's been ever such a lot of fun. So it's been a lot of self-care. It might not be the best therapeutic practice because it's taken a lot of practice, a lot of preparation. We've had to wait for ice to freeze, water to freeze into ice, I should say. We've had to wait for it to then thaw. Ooh, but this one on this paper and on the granite is working quite well. Ooh, I quite like this. It's like you can leave little prints, look. Ooh, so wet on wet seems to work. And wet on dry seems to take a little longer. So I think there's some potential there, but because of the time constraints, I'm not sure I would have a client in a session and say, hey, do you want to put those crumbs of pastel or the watercolors that aren't working into an ice cube and then wait for it to melt and all that. So maybe I wouldn't. But I have to say, the team here has had a lot of fun watching them, playing with them, and really exploring what's possible. And even this is way more fun than just sitting back and waiting for it to melt. But it has also been, for somebody like me who's not very patient, it has been a good lesson in patience and to really make myself slow down and literally wait for ice to melt. So Jason put these two on maybe just 15 minutes ago. And this is 100 weight paper, maybe even thicker. And do you want me to move them or leave them there? Move them around? Okay, he's giving me the nod. Ooh, so we can see that it's, ooh, look at that. So the watercolor was under there. Ooh, I may have to put that back. I feel like it's like a little car being moved around. Ooh. Ooh, it's got some nice sound to that one too. What I thought would happen is as it melted and got absorbed, it would naturally paint onto the page, but apparently not quite in the way I'd hoped to. So I'm starting to think that maybe the microwave in the ice is a good idea because it takes the water away much faster, leaving behind the pigment. So I may try microwaving some more ice after this. But also just the whole process of allowing things to change through nature. So letting them freeze, letting them thaw, be patient with them. And definitely on the different forms of paper, we're getting different results here. So if you've got any comments before we sign off and start playing with this more, fire them away at the bottom because Jason's able to watch them while I'm busy. And otherwise, give it a try, see what you can freeze. And interestingly here, while we've been filming, this block of ice has released all its paint. Look, the paint's in there and the block. The good thing is the dried up watercolor that wasn't really any use is now back to being quite useful. Look at that. Oh, other than it's really cold, this is fun. And for those of you who are living in colder climates, different parts of Canada to us and around the world where you've got snow and ice, then of course you may want to try more of the Andy Goldsworthy technique of putting environmentally friendly things into a snowball and then bringing it inside to it to defrost. Okay, so perhaps not bring it inside to the living room by the fireplace unless it's small, but I'm sure you'll find a way of just applying these processes in your own environment to see what comes of it. There. Anything else? Any comments at the bottom there? Not yet? No, too early. We didn't give you much warning that we were going live. So try it on different paper. Try it in the microwave. See what you're going to freeze. I even wonder if tea bags, we have lots of tea bags in this house, whether they would freeze well and then just melt nicely onto a page and start to create their own mark. From all these marks, of course, you can then start to turn them around and see for yourself, what do you see in them? When these have dried, what do I want to layer over the top? And actually just playing in all this lovely pigment and dancing around in the fluidity is actually quite yummy. I seem to still not want to make a mark on there though, but I guess I do. So go have fun, go play, and although this might not be a therapeutic practice you'd like to do with your clients because of the time and the mess, do it for yourself. Have fun. It's cold, it's warm, you've got the sensory, you've got the color, you've got the playful, and you've even got a bit of science in there. Start having fun with it and let us know what you come up with ready for next time. Take care, everyone. It's Cheryl-Ann Webster, and you'll find all of us at CiiAT at ciiat.org, CiiAT.org. Bye.